All right, we are here with our coach to coach convo with Coach Corey Parker from the University of Toledo. Coach Parker is a former Michigan high school coach of great esteem, although I remember when he was extraordinarily wet behind the ears and about 14 years old when he started coaching at River Rouge. But we got him on today to talk a little bit about making the transition from high school to college. Coach Parker, welcome. Start off by just tell us a little bit about your background first as a player and then in coaching.
Well, as a player, I was just blessed with the opportunity to attend St. Martin de Porres High School, and I was able to win the state championship there playing for Greg Carter and Coach Ron Thompson there in 1996. Played safety and corner there and had a good career, where I was all Catholic, all league guy my junior and senior year. And then really I saw the way that Coach Thompson treated Coach Carter, and obviously the way Coach Carter treated us, the love, the care that they had for us. And I knew, like, man, I want to do this someday when I retire from playing. And so just helping kids get in school and things like that is something I really had a real big passion about, because if you came inside the office at St. Martin de Porres, it was just pictures and pictures and pictures of, Division I, Division II, Division III guys that are taking a picture with their head coach, taking the knee on picture day. And that was like one of the most prideful things that we had at the Porres. And I said, I want that to be my turn someday. And so I went to Eastern Michigan and got my turn to play there. And I played special teams my freshman year, and then I played safety and did a good job for the defense my sophomore through senior year. Obviously I played some corner too, and even some outside linebacker in the dang on 3-3-5. So I was moving around in defense a lot, but I was blessed because I learned a lot of football in high school to prepare me for that moment. So I think I figured really soon in football that I was an X and O guy. As good as I thought I was a player, I was more of an X and O guy, more of a position-based guy where I could learn things very, very quickly and pick up what the scheme meant and how I could help and make plays from there. So from there, I was with the Ottawa Renegades after my senior year at Eastern Michigan. We won the Michigan MAC championship and had some success at Eastern, but we never won a MAC championship. We can never beat Toledo. We can never beat Bowling Green, some of those guys that were really, really like the creme de la creme of the conference. So I ended up working into becoming a guy that wasn't picked in the NFL draft, but I ended up with the Ottawa Renegades in the CFL and learned very, very quickly in 2006 when that occurred that the CFL was not as strong as the NFL as far as your longevity. So the franchise fell through that year, and I had to find a job. It was the first time I had met adversity in that space of my life, and the blessing was I was a good player in high school and college, whereas people remember who I was a little bit. So I was going and applying for a job at Tequila Rain, Lucky Strike out in Novi. And as I'm walking in, I see Scott Merchant, who at the time was the head coach of UD Jesuit. And I had went head to head with him, 4 times in high school when I was a player and he was a coach. And John Dignan, who his longtime dad, Coach Dignan at Ypsilanti High School. And then obviously Coach Dignan is right now the superintendent of Wayne Westland Public Schools. Well, he recruited me to play at Eastern Michigan. He was the linebackers coach there, but also at that time was the defensive coordinator. He had retired from college football. He's the defense coordinator at UD. So I'm walking into Lucky Strike to apply for a job. They're walking in to go and have lunch. And hey, CP, what's up? Like, what's up, man? What's going on? They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm about to go and apply for a job. Like, I'm done playing at Eastern. They're like, you're not applying for a job here. You're about to get a job from us. You're going to be our DB and receivers coach, just like that. And so I don't think they would have had that type of conversation with me if I was a bad guy or if I didn't really love the game. And right there in that moment, Coach Merchant really schooled me in the world of offensive football, and Coach Dignan did the same in the world of defensive football and what it meant to coach it instead of just being a player, but how to coach it, how to really embody being a coach, the professionalism of it. And so what I didn't realize was I was learning from a dang on Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Just 2 classic guys that really cared about me. And so I marched my way up from there at UD Jesuit. Then I was at Ann Arbor Huron with Jari Brown and Joe P., who's now the head coach of Adrian High School. And I was with those guys for a little while. I played with Jari Brown in Eastern Michigan. And Coach Carter still wouldn't let me come on his staff. He was the head coach at Inkster at the time, and he said, no, go get your butt whooped somewhere else first. Go learn how to be a good coach. And so he, was making a couple of state championship runs at Inkster at the time. And so eventually he asked me to come and help him out with the DBs and help him out with the defense a little bit as the defensive coordinator. And I went, and that was in 2008. And we had a really, really good year, went to the state championship, but we lost to Coach Sturzma and East Grand Rapids, a really good team led by Joe Glendenning. And then River Rouge called me and asked me to become the head coach. And I thought that was my opportunity to put on a big shiny whistle, and I'm going to be the head coach. So I called my wife. Hey, you will never guess the school that called me to be the head coach. Your alma mater called me to be the head coach. She said, don't take the job. We're a basketball school. Do not take that job. And
that was not a great football job when you took it.
No, it was a pretty bad situation when I arrived. And the kids did not love football. They did not love school. There's a lot of gang-related guys that was involved in the program, and I had to get that stuff out of the program, and we had to be recognized by something other than what we were capable of doing inside the lines. So I wanted a team built with great culture and great young men. So I kicked all of those bad guys off the team. We went 2-7. Because here's the reality of it. Some of those bad guys are really fast. They're really good football players. But I did not want to start my career being the coach that cared about winning the most. I want to care about the people and the people that wore those jerseys. And when they took those jerseys off, who were they? Right. And so we built our program at Rouge to be that. And from there, that was our last losing season ever. And from there, from 2010 until 2021, we went to the state playoffs won our first district championship in 2012 in school history, running a dang on tight single wing. We didn't have a lot of great athletes, so I had to find an offense that was good for me as a defensive-minded guy. I need to be the Paul Johnson-ish type of guy where now you're playing against River Rouge, you're going to see something different, something you've never seen before, which will help me as a play caller. But it's also going to allow me to grow as a better coach because the single wing forces you to teach blocking and tackling at practice every day. You're very, very simple. We're very, very methodical of trying to get 3 yards. That's all we were focused on. And so we did that and just continuously grew the program by way of, toughness and physicality and maintaining good character and grades. That's who we were. And from there, obviously, we got lucky a little bit there. Detroit Southwestern closed, and some schools that were around us that traditionally kids would attend was not available for the kids to attend. So now River Rouge goes from a school that has 400 total students in it, and then it started growing. We got 600 people in it, and then we got 800 people in it. And so our school population grew. We had more athletes to choose from, so we was able to spread the offense out a little bit. And at the same time, defensively, we were still middle of the field closed, dang on bear defense. We're going to play single gap principles. We're going to play tough physical. We're going to play some man-to-man, some match cover 3, and cover 0. That's it. That's all you're going to get from me. You're going to earn it. And so that's what we did. And but we still maintained that character of pride and toughness and great character in the classroom and off the field. And it really led us to opportunity to win over 100 games in my career there. We put over 100 kids in different Division I, Division II, Division III schools and NAIA schools. And then from there, the last piece that I think was the most important, went to the state championship 3 times. And that's just a blessing and an opportunity that a lot of coaches don't get a chance to do. So I always hold that with pride on my shoulders. And I'm just very thankful for the opportunities. Yet guys in the Michigan High School Football Coach Association just helped me grow, because I didn't know anything about coaching other than what Dignan and Merchant taught me and what Coach Carter taught me. So a lot of you guys really just took me under your wing and just gave me your time if I ever had a question. And I was able to take it back to my school and act like I was smart. I was able to spread that stuff out and really help some kids out and help a community out. And ultimately, that's what we did. We really changed that place and made it, a perennial power where kids are graduating from every day. Kids are, getting their degrees from. Kids are going to college and playing on TV. And now we got 4 of those guys that played for me at River Rouge will be in the 2024 NFL draft in Detroit. next year. Like, that's mind blowing. And these are all 3-stars. I've never had a 4-star or 5-star in my life. These guys have all been 3 stars and below, and they get to these places and outwork someone's 4 or 5-star rated guy because we taught them character, pride, their academics, strength, and toughness.
Great stuff. Two great things about your story, I think, is how your school went from being Division 6, I think, when you first got there, all the way to Division 2.
Yeah.
Just because that was the growth within your school district.
Yeah.
And as I think back, I mentioned knowing you back when you were a very young man with long dreads and a very different looking character than you are now. But, you stepped out of your comfort zone and befriended old up north coaches to learn that offense. And I think you deserve a lot of respect for that, because I don't know a lot of guys your age would have done that.
Yes. Old Ken Hofer, all those guys, Jeff Barrow, that Menominee staff took me under their wing. I mean, Jim Ahern, who would have ever thought Corey Parker and Jim Ahern will be this close of friends?
That's just not the 2 guys you expect to see at the end of the bar. That's for
exactly.
Sure. Well, Coach, tell me a little bit about how the transition from River Rouge to UT has gone for you here in the last year and a half or so.
Well, I think the transition was smooth because, the number one thing for me was making sure that I maintained that DePore spirit of taking care of the players first, treating the players as if, they are your son, and so that's what I did as a coach at River Rouge, and my players loved that part about me. And so I maintained that here. So any gaps or level of being not a novice or a rookie as a coach at the collegiate level, I was able to fill in those gaps to a certain extent just by tender love and care and giving the players everything I got every day at practice, which essentially is what our head coach seeks from me every day, is giving my energy, giving my passion, giving my pride, and my players playing that same way. So the transition was smooth because of that reason, and gave me really an opportunity to start dialing in on the schematics and dialing in on the technical piece of things to help each and every player, have their own personal success stories on the field.
Good stuff. Give me just, after 18 months or so, your perspectives on the pros and cons of coaching at the college level versus coaching at high school.
Well, the coaching in high school, you have such a personal touch with it. You're involved in everything, raising the finances, purchasing the food for the concession stand, making sure the team meal is ready to go. Even if you got to make the spaghetti, the bread, and the salad yourself, you've got to go to the lunch lady and tell her you need chocolate milks stored inside the refrigerator for after weightlifting is over. Like, you're so involved in everything that when you get to college, you don't have to do any of that stuff. You just have to make sure your players are arriving on time to those particular events, whether it's meetings, practices, or meals. So it does create a little bit of a bit of depression. Like, man, like, what else am I supposed to be doing right now? Am I supposed to really just be in my office? Like, so that was the pros and cons for me that I struggle with the most, of just truly delegating and stepping back and saying, that's not mine. Let me focus on my players. Whereas in high school, another pro for me is always knowing what's going on in my players' lives. So I have to ask those questions now as a coach, whereas as the head coach and dean of students and athletic director of River Rouge, the players poured in my office to tell me problems so I can fix them and help them with them and teach them through them. Well, now I'm dealing with adult males that isn't really comfortable telling you their business. So it's a little different to create that comfort zone so that level of communication is still open. Those lines of communication are still open. If they're going through something, I need to make sure that I'm doing everything possible to make sure they feel comfortable to come and let me know so I can still support them the same way I would support a 14 through 18-year-old. 18 through 22-year-olds need the same support. They're just not willing to ask for it initially. So those would be the pros and cons that I would say, that's been a bit different over the past, 18 months. But at the same time, I've learned how to deal with not having my hands on everything. I've also learned how to just sit back and listen and accept when a player wants to talk, when a player doesn't want to talk.
Well, right. I mean, that's got to be something of an adjustment where you go from being in charge of the entire program to being in charge of your 8 or 10 guys.
Yeah.
That's a big step. What advice would you have for the high school coach that wants to coach at the college level?
Most importantly, to have an understanding of the process. Like, what is your daily process? Because at the college level, what you'll find is you will have a lot of time, and inside your time, as you can see, my dry erase board is like crazy. So I have each day processed out, from my individual plans to my pre-practice plans to my meetings. What am I trying to teach? What message am I trying to convey? What am I going to talk to them about today other than football? Manhood Mondays per se. What can you bring to the football program? What value do you add? So those are the questions that I tell a lot of coaches that are at the high school level that have interest in the college level. Like, what value do you add? Because if you're just saying you're going to be a great recruiter, and who can't be when they have time to recruit, or when its finance is literally allocated to fly you to another state to go and find a guy? You should be a good recruiter, right? So, or are you just a good guy on the field? Well, you should be. You have nothing but time to watch videos and learn football to teach guys football. What value do you add to the program? So I would say, every coach that has interest in coming to the college level, they have to be process driven. They have to be prepared for challenges, and they have to accept the nature of the beast, the new grind of dealing with, the transfer portal. And what does that really mean? It means the people that are in your building are the most important people. It means take care of your room first, because those guys can and will go into the portal if they're not happy, if they're not feeling fulfilled by way of what you're giving them. And what are you giving them? If you're just giving them football, it's not enough. You may need to give them a personal approach. So that's a bit for me. What I would tell a lot of coaches: make sure you're process driven, have an understanding of a vast variety of X and O's, because when a question is asked, you need to answer it. Or in they're talking a certain bit of terminology, you need to be aware of it. And what we believe we know at the high school level isn't enough. You've got to grow past that. You've got to learn and know things that maybe is in the world of unknowing. And as a head coach, that I was prepared for this, because I had to know everything from every single one of my blocking schemes, every single one of my fronts, every single one of my pressures, every single one of my routes, every single one of my backfield actions. I had to know it all, because I had to be able to call it all at some point, or support my staff to do so. So any coach that's interested in coming to this level, you have to be the all-in-knowing of everything, just to have a chance to be successful. And most importantly, just to have a chance to be confident in front of your room when you're teaching your guys in meetings.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. We're in the middle of the season. I appreciate you carving out a few minutes for us. And as much as it pains an old Chippewa like myself to say, go UT, good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, Coach Farley. Anytime you want to come on up and see a Rockets game, please let me know. Anybody in the association that wants to come up and see us, Coach Parker's got tickets for you. I miss a lot of you guys. Would love to see you. Can't wait to see you guys in January at the convention.
All right. Take care.
All right, Coach. All right.